Thanks so much for being Thanks so much for being here today to our webinar, Accelerating Dementia Research and Early Career Development, the Alzheimer's Association Interdisciplinary Summer Research Institute. This webinar is hosted by the Alzheimer's Association, and the Summer Institute program is currently funded by the NIH. My name is Chelsea Klein, and I am the Senior Associate Director of Health Policy at the Alzheimer's Association. I've had the pleasure of coordinating and leading the Summer Research Institute for the past 5+ years, and I'm really excited to talk with you all today to share information about the program. So, to help us get to know you all a little bit more, please put in the chat where you're joining us from, as well as what your area or topic of research. And just a few housekeeping items before we get started. As you heard, the webinar is being recorded, and the recording of the webinar will be shared with all registrants. Any personal recording of the webinar or use of AI assistance to record is not allowed. If you would like to use the closed captioning, you can enable it by using the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to put any questions you have during today's webinar in the Q&A box. We will be saving some time at the end for Q&A, and we will get to as many questions as we can at the end of the presentation. We will also be sharing out a summary email. So this will include information about how you can access the recording, as well as information about how to apply for the Summer Research Institute. So a quick overview of our agenda today. So first, I will start off with giving an overview of the Summer Research Institute program, why the Alzheimer's Association developed it, and how it can be valuable for your research in your career. We also have 3 wonderful alums joining us today who are past participants of the Summer Research Institute, who will be sharing their research, their career updates, as well as how the Summer Research Institute impacted their research. And then, like I said, we'll be saving some time at the end for Q&A. And here are our presenters today. So we have Dr. Megan Gilligan, Associate Professor of Human Development and Family Science at the University of Missouri. And Megan participated in the Summer Institute in 2021. Dr. Erica Pugh, Postdoctoral Fellow and Health Enhancement Scientific Program Scholar at Ohio State University. Erica participated just this past year in 2025. And Dr. Emily Morose, Assistant Professor in the School of Nursing at Emory University, who participated in 2023. So we'll look forward to hearing from them after this presentation about a program overview of the Summer Institute. All right, so why did the Alzheimer's Association look to develop this program? Well, as you can see by this slide and information from our 2025 facts and figures, the prevalence of ADRD is growing. There are currently more than 7 million people living with Alzheimer's in the United States, and that number is continuing to grow. By 2060, we expect that number to reach almost 14 million people. We also know that this disease has a profound impact on families and caregivers. Currently, there are nearly 12 million unpaid caregivers in the United States. And we also know that caregivers experience higher levels of stress and more chronic conditions, really underscoring the need to develop more programs and supports for this population. In the past few years, there's also been so much research that has come out about the importance of looking at dementia risk factors, early detection and diagnosis, and quality care. So with all of these findings, there's really a growing need to accelerate research around dementia and help develop the newest cohort of dementia researchers. So with that, in 2020, the NIA funded the creation of the Alzheimer's Association Summer Research Institute. So the NIA funded the program for 5 years. So we're just about at the end of that 5-year cycle. But due to the success of the program, we are able to run the Summer Institute internally through the Alzheimer's Association, which is super exciting. So what is the Summer Institute? It is a week-long, no-cost immersive experience for 24 early career researchers who are interested in population health and care interventions research related to dementia. We convene these researchers to hear from experts in the field, participate in one-on-one and peer mentoring, and refine their research proposals. It is held each August in Chicago, and this year it will be held August 3rd through 7th in Chicago at the Alzheimer's Association offices. Our program leadership includes Dr. Sam Fazio, who really helped to lead the creation and development of this program. Dr. Cheryl Zimmerman from the University of North Carolina, who leads our care interventions track. Dr. Julie Bynum from University of Michigan, who leads our population health track, along with Matthew Baumgart from the Alzheimer's Association, who's the co-lead of that population health track. So here are our overall program goals and objectives. The short-term goal is to really increase the number and expertise of people who are conducting care interventions and population health research in the dementia field, with that long-term goal of increasing the speed of breakthroughs in prevention, treatment, and care of people with dementia. And through this program, our attendees gain knowledge of the basic clinical and biological aspects of ADRD, as well as more in-depth information pertaining to their specific tracks, make connections with experts or expert faculty in the field, as well as the peers within their cohort, refine their research proposals, and advance and improve their independent and ADRD research skills. So this is a visualization of what the program looks like on the day-to-day. So each day we start off after breakfast with full group morning sessions. So these are sessions that everybody attends, and these sessions primarily focus on kind of bigger picture, broader dementia topics. Then after lunch, our attendees split into their breakout groups depending upon their tracks. So either care interventions or population health. And during these breakouts, our attendees really dive deeper into the current research and discuss gaps and opportunities in population health and care interventions. After this, our attendees convene in either their small mentoring groups or meet up with faculty for one-on-one mentoring. During this time, attendees discuss their careers and have time to develop and refine their research proposals. So this is a really valuable part of the Summer Institute. It's a great time to hear from peers within their cohort, as well as these experts in the field about their aims, methods, data collection, anything pertaining to their research. How do I go about recruitment? And also kind of their career path. So really anything that, our attendees are having questions about with their research or how they want to advance in their career, this is a great opportunity to hear from lots of different folks about their direction. So now a little bit more about our tracks. So like I mentioned, there are 2 tracks that folks can apply to, and you do select the track during your application. So the population health track are for those interested in pursuing research projects at that population health level. So projects will often include secondary data analysis and may include topics about disease prevalence, risk factors, systems change, cost of care, and social determinants of health. Care interventions applicants should be focused on pursuing research projects, really focused on the intervention research, and this is usually using primary data. And these projects should be applicable at an individual, dyadic, or group level to affect risk, resilience, and outcomes for people living with dementia and caregivers. One of the big questions that we get is, what track should I apply to? There's a lot of overlap between these two. A lot of folks come in having done research in both of these areas. So please feel free to reach out as you're going through the application process, and we can talk through, which track would be most appropriate for you to apply to. So here's a bit more information about the full group morning sessions. And here are just a few of the topics of those sessions. There are more than this, but here are just some of the highlights. You can see we have a lot of big experts in the field come in. Dr. Lisa Barnes from Rush University talking about the epidemiology of dementia as well as her research. Dr. Carl Hill at the Alzheimer's Association gives a really amazing overview of diversity and disparities in dementia research. Dr. Darby Morehart at Northwestern University convenes an amazing panel of people living with dementia and their caregivers to talk about both their dementia journey, but also how you can involve people living with the disease and their care partners in your research. We also convene a number of organizations, of course, the Alzheimer's Association, PCORI, and more to talk about new and upcoming grant opportunities that our researchers can apply to. And then each year, our Summer Institute ends with elevator pitches. So this is, I think, a really valuable experience for our attendees to get experience in talking about their research in a 2-minute spiel. So we have them indicate kind of their target audience, be it a funder or their recruitment population, and really practice how do you translate that science into a quick 2-minute pitch to get people's attention about your research. And so, like I said, after our morning sessions, we go into those breakout groups. So here are a few examples of the different topics that are covered in the care interventions track and the population health track. So in care interventions, lots of great information about community engaged research, interventions and implementation science, population health, aging in place, economics, those kind of bigger picture population health level topics. This is a really great opportunity to dive deeper into each of these areas of research and learn more and discuss the latest developments. This is also a great opportunity because these are smaller groups. So we'll have, you have 24 overall researchers in the program, 12 in care interventions, and 12 in the population health. So it's a smaller group. So these afternoon sessions are even more interactive, more kind of open forum, open dialogue to discuss with the faculty and your peers. Wanted to give just a few quick notes on the eligibility. Again, these are a lot of questions that we get, am I eligible to apply for the Summer Research Institute? So our program is geared towards those early career researchers. So we define that as those who have completed their doctoral level degree within the past 10 years. Researchers should not have previously served as a PI for a substantial research award, which we define as kind of R01 type awards. Applicants must be based in the U.S. You do not need to be a U.S. citizen, but do need to be based in the U.S. And because this program is focused on those two tracks, so care interventions and population health, study projects involving or primarily focused on imaging and biomarkers are not eligible for the Summer Institute. That's not to say if you have kind of smaller components about those things, that's fine. But if the overall focus of your research is imaging or biomarkers, then that's not eligible for the Summer Research Institute. And then I also wanted to briefly touch on kind of the application and selection process for the program. So all of our applications are submitted through Proposal Central. Our applications are open now through March 9th, so still have over a month to apply. And the application is comprised of demographic information, 2 letters of recommendation from faculty, mentors, those who really know you well and your research well, statement of interest about why you want to attend the program, a 1-page research proposal, and this should be the research proposal that you hope to refine and work on during your time at the Summer Institute, as well as a bio sketch. And then on to participant selection. So how do we actually select those 24 individuals? So each application goes through a 2-stage review. So first, our broader cohort of faculty will review and score applications, and then those applications will move on to our leadership team to select the final 24. The main components of the review include experience and training, letters of recommendation, your statement of objectives, long-term ADRD, career interest. And one of the most significant parts of the review is the significance and quality of the proposal. Is this a novel research idea? That's a big thing that we're looking for, as well as the impact score. So looking kind of at the full application, do we think that this would be an impactful program for your career? And then here are just a few quotes from alumni about their experience with the program. Our alumni have found this program incredibly valuable, not only in the information that they've learned, but also the connections they've made and the career and research development it's offered. I think one thing that's really awesome about the Summer Institute is that it's an intense immersive week, but it doesn't end there. The connections, the networking, continues on. We have annual gatherings at different conferences like GSA, APHA, lots of opportunities to kind of continue working with those in your cohort and those in kind of the broader Summer Institute alumni network. But to discuss their experiences a bit more, I'm very excited to introduce our alumni presenters. First up, we have Dr. Megan Gilligan, Associate Professor of Human Development and Family Science at University of Missouri.
Great. Well, thank you. I think that what I'm going to share today is going to echo a lot of the overview that Chelsea just provided, and I'm really excited to have the opportunity to share these experiences with you. So again, my name is Megan Gilligan. I'm an associate professor here at the University of Missouri. So Chelsea, if you want to move to the next slide. I attended the first Alzheimer's Association Interdisciplinary Summer Research Institute. So that was in 2021. And just to give you a little bit of context, that was maybe a special year because it was the first, but also that was right when the second variant of COVID was coming. And so we weren't sure if we would meet for that first time in person or not. Some folks did join the Institute via Zoom, but there were a group of us who met in Chicago. And so I created this first slide because for me, overall, the best experience of the Alzheimer's Association Interdisciplinary Summer Research Institute was these personal connections and experience. Maybe that was because we were during the pandemic and it was so nice to be able to spend time together. I don't have a picture, but my one-on-one mentor was Dr. Joe Gogler, and that was just an amazing experience to have that one-on-one time to workshop the proposal I was working on. But I do have a picture here in the corner. This was my small group, so led by Dr. Cheryl Zimmerman, and it was an amazing experience to work with her as an expert, so when we would meet together every day, but also the other Institute members that were part of this small group and how we were able to maintain connections with each other. So Chelsea, if you will actually go to the next slide. I wanted to share that two of those small group members, Dr. Kalisha Bonds-Johnson and Dr. Manka Inkembang, along with other colleagues, we not only maintained connections with each other and saw each other at the alumni events at GSA and such, but we were also able to maintain a collaboration that resulted in publication together. So we published Expansion of Family Networks and Social Interactions to Facilitate Successful Navigation of Healthcare Systems for the Management of Cognitive Impairment. And so just a great example of how those personal connections that we made during the Institute were able to be maintained and actually led to a product that we were able to collaborate on together. So in the next slide, I want to give you kind of back up and kind of give you a sense of where I was at when I was applying to the Summer Research Institute. So I came to the Summer Institute with an already funded K01 project. So sibling relations in the context of dementia parental care, implications for health and well-being. The short name of that study is Siblings Caring for Parents with Dementia. I want to give you just an overview of that project. In that work, I proposed mixed methods approach. So I was collecting survey biological data. So I was collecting saliva and hair samples, or rather participants were self-collecting. And observational data. So I was collecting data from 2 siblings within 100 families to examine cross-partner associations between adult sibling relations and health and well-being outcomes in the context of caring for an older parent with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia. So that observational data involved bringing those 2 siblings together to discuss their parents' current care needs and what they would anticipate as future care needs. And so even though the project was funded, I had delayed data collection because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I was just starting data collection when I went to the Summer Research Institute. And maybe like other folks who are on this webinar, I maybe underestimated just how challenging that data collection was going to be in general, but it was compounded as a result of the pandemic. So some of the community partners who I had made arrangements with, they had really restrictions on the services that they were providing. Collecting those biological data became difficult because of the pandemic and just challenges of collecting biological data in general. And then also, this project is unique in that I'm collecting data from two adult children within the same family. So thinking about, we know adult children provide a lot of care to older parents, but this project making an extension, thinking about how do multiple adult children navigate this care together. And so when I got to the Summer Research Institute, my small group in particular was really helpful, really open and sharing experiences they had had themselves in collecting data, what things that worked really well, challenges that they had encountered, and we could think about that together. I was able to share my recruitment materials and get really good feedback about how I could refine those materials, different strategies I might try. In addition, during the daily presentations, Dr. Carl Hill and Dr. Neelam Argwal during my Summer Institute presented on being inclusive, how to make sure that we're reaching diverse populations. And that presentation really resonated with me. And so after the Summer Research Institute, I connected with Dr. Neelam Argawal, and she was gracious enough to provide additional mentorship. She was willing to meet with me via Zoom and actually connect me with community partners and help to demonstrate how I might more effectively build really, hopefully, mutually beneficial relationships, provide education outreach, and also share information about my study with a wide variety of community partners. So as a result, my goal was to collect data on 100 families, and I was able to collect data on slightly over 100 families, and I really owe that to the Summer Research Institute and helping me to figure out and overcome challenges with recruitment. So Chelsea, if you'll move to the next slide. I just want to share some initial findings of that study and where that work is now and give you some ideas of where that work is going. So the first set of initial findings I want to share were presented as a poster at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference in 2025. So the title of this work is Perceptions of Equity, Loneliness, and Depressive Symptoms Among Siblings Who Care for Older Parent with Dementia. In this work, my colleagues and I were able to demonstrate that adult children's caregivers who provided more care than their siblings reported higher depressive symptoms. And we also found that caregiving burden mediated the associations between perceptions of care equity and depressive symptoms. So I just want to highlight the implications of these findings are that when we take into consideration kind of that larger care network, we can see that in this case, particularly perceptions about how that care is divided has implications for mental health outcomes of caregivers. On this next slide, I just want to share some other sets of initial findings. These are currently under review. The title of this work is Hair Cortisol Concentration Among Siblings Caring for a Parent with Dementia, Dyadic Approaches to Caregiving Distress and Sibling Relationship Quality. In this work, we were able to look at what we can refer to as actor effects. So one sibling's reports of distress, both emotional and physical, and then also their reports of their relationship with their sibling and its associations with their own hair cortisol concentrations. But we can also look at partner effects. So the other siblings' reports of emotional distress, physical distress, and sibling relationship quality. And we actually found some of these partner effects that this distress and relationship quality was associated with the other siblings' hair cortisol concentration. So again, these findings help to highlight that when we consider multiple members of care networks, we can really tap into how they are not only navigating this care experience, but they're sharing it, and it might have implications for each other's health and well-being. So moving forward on the next slide here, I want to end by just sharing a couple of examples of future directions for this work. So the first example I want to share is in collaboration with my postdoc here at Mizzou, Dr. Hanamori Scablo. Dr. Scablo was recently awarded an Alzheimer's Association Research Fellowship for work on care networks in single and multi-child families living with dementia. And so in this work, we are again interested in that sibling network and how siblings are navigating care with each other. But we're also interested in the increased prevalence of only adult children. And so we're interested in how their network might look different and making comparisons, and who provides support to children, adult children who are navigating care for a parent with dementia without other siblings present. And in the last slide here, I want to just highlight another future direction. So this is a paper that was recently published in the American Journal of Alzheimer's Disease and Other Dementia with other colleagues. The title of this work is Beyond the Primary Caregiver, a scoping review of family-centered dementia caregiving programs, where we review current caregiving programs and found that they tend to focus in on that one single primary caregiver, but we're able to offer recommendations how programs could incorporate that larger caregiving network. And just circling back quickly, thinking about the work that Dr. Hill and Argawal presented, thinking about how that larger network in particular might be beneficial for programming for underrepresented, marginalized families as well. So I will stop there and look forward to questions here at the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Megan. That was great to hear about your positive experiences with the Summer Institute and all of your exciting research. So now I will pass it on to Dr. Erica Pugh.
All right, thank you. So I am happy to be here. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be here as an alum, even though I'm a fresh alum. I attended pretty recently, but I hope that through my talk you'll be able to get a sense of how impactful this program can be, even a short time afterwards. Next slide. So this is a slide with a lot on it, and it just kind of shows my path to dementia research. And so I'm not going to go through everything that's on here, but just highlight that I'm currently a postdoc at The Ohio State University. I got my PhD in clinical psychology with an emphasis in neuropsychology from LSU. And as you can see, I've been married to the field of psychology for a very long time now. However, I found it very refreshing to be at the Institute because it provided the opportunity to engage with people across disciplines and with a shared goal. And so while I feel that I have this depth, I could get more breadth through the dementia research field by being involved in the Institute. Next slide, please. And I'll highlight more about my experience at ISRI, but first I want to go over some of my recent work. And before I get into specific studies, I just kind of want to show you how my work fits together conceptually. So broadly speaking, I'm looking at cognitive aging and dementia risk. However, specifically in special populations and looking at things like structural inequities, life course stressors. I have a strong desire to continue to get expertise in women's health work, especially as it relates to reproductive timing and dementia onset, and as well as early identification of some of these risk factors and of people at risk for future decline. But at the heart of what I do is health equity work and then being engaged with the community. And so doing community engaged research is also at the heart of what I do. Next slide, please. And so what drives my work? This is a question that I've had mentors ask before. And so the opportunity that I see here is brain health science can better reflect the lived realities of people's lives, which includes incorporating some of these psychosocial experiences, especially those that could be targeted for prevention or intervention in the future. And what motivates me is the idea that lived experiences shape both risk and resilience, and that these experiences can help us explain why cognitive aging trajectories and dementia risk and prevalence can be so different between different populations. And ultimately, the change that I hope to contribute to is more of a life course equity centered approach to understanding cognitive aging and dementia risk, one that supports prevention and intervention strategies that are not only effective, but more informed and inclusive. And next slide, please. So I know there are a lot of words on these slides, and I'm sure you all know how to read, so I won't read it to you, but I want to just give an overview of this study. So this study was actually the result of my participation in a different training program and getting together with this group and being able to leverage this collaboration even after we completed the program, similar to what Dr. Gilligan discussed with ISRI. And so we looked at the relationship between parental loss. So this could be divorce, death, or incarceration in early life, as well in relation to late life cognition, and also look to see if inflammatory markers could potentially mediate that relationship. And we used data from HRS and modeled latent inflammation factors based on multiple biomarkers here. And so this was a novel approach posited by prior researchers. And overall, we found that higher inflammation was associated with worse cognition among white and Latin participants. And among white participants, parental disruption, so again, this is death, divorce, incarceration, predicted higher inflammation, which in turn predicted poorer cognition. And again, we're talking about this parental disruption in early life. However, there were differential findings based on race and ethnicity, whereas there was no pathway present in Black participants and a differential pathway in Latin participants. And so with this work, I'm looking more at this earlier stage. And then when we move on to the next slide and look at some of my other work, I'm focusing more so on adult experiences. Still not the exposures are more so in adulthood, still not fully late life for the exposures. And so this also used HRS. We looked at adverse policing as a part of the social exposome. And so I'll talk more about this when I get to my ISRI slide, but taking this more exposomal framework was something that I kind of got the idea from while being involved with all these different researchers from different specialties and hearing these talks at ISRI. And so that's something that did help impact my work. And so, I believe that adverse policing as a social exposome exposure is something that's not looked at much at all. And adverse policing means chronic surveillance, negative law enforcement encounters, and this happens across the life course. And so I looked at exposure to adverse policing in adulthood and how that impacted depression and cognition in in late life. So the report of depression and then like objective cognitive performance. And specifically, this was more of a psychometric approach where I looked at how well the surveys measured what we thought they were measuring based on the different exposures. And I don't want to get too technical with this because I don't know how many psychometric folks I have on the call, but we found overlap between effort-related depressive symptoms and executive function cognitive tasks as they relate to being more exposed to adverse policing experiences. And so overall, the findings suggest that some of these structural exposures could potentially impact how symptoms are both reported and measured. And that's kind of the take home from that. But if someone wants to follow up, I would love to talk the dirty details with you as it relates to the psychometrics. Next slide, please. And so some additional projects I have going on include monarchical timing and memory performance. And this project, I found that earlier monarchy was associated with better episodic memory performance in late life, and it seemed to be more so specific for this kind of story memory versus list learning. Also looking at the relationship between inter-individual cognitive variability and plasma biomarkers. And I've found differential relationships across groups, so diagnostic categories, sex, ethno-racial groups. And this work is as a part of my program with TAPS HD. And then also, I'm a co-I on a grant to develop a survey to assess the impact of period poverty and also just determine like how we can intervene on that. And I hope I'm still doing okay with time. Next slide, please, because this we're coming up on the ISRI slide, which I'm very excited about. But as far as the next phase of my work, I hope to continue to develop my independent research program, especially as I transition to the next stage of my career, incorporating more of these biomarkers and longitudinal modeling. And so you've seen I've done work with inflammatory markers, neuroimaging markers in the past, and also these plasma biomarkers, but I want to continue to expand that to things like FNIRS, MRI. I'll continue to engage in community-led and community-informed research. And then I'm transitioning into a faculty role soon. I'm on the job market, so that is at the front of my brain at this moment. Next slide, please. Okay, so what I'm sure you've been waiting for. So I would say that ISRI played a pivotal role in helping me develop my I think especially longer term program of research. And I would say that right now it can be a tough time to be a researcher, especially when you study certain topics or certain populations. However, my participation in the program helped me feel confident that, I am on this right path. And, despite whatever obstacles, it reminded me of the importance of the work that I wish to do and helped me think through like what funding mechanisms, like what my work may look like in the future, what types of people I would need to connect with to keep this moving forward. And so through the mentorship and training, I was able to participate in mock study sessions, practice my elevator pitch. I had a one-to-one with two different PIs actually, and we didn't even just have to talk about my research proposal. They invited me to talk about other things like, like how to approach the job market or networking, or how to think through my next steps. We also went over the research proposals in detail. So at the end of this, I felt that I had a very um, strong proposal with good feedback. And I would say that the program helped me develop a network of collaborators and a clearer scientific identity. And as Dr. Gilligan mentioned, these are lifelong, long-term connections that I've made. We all added each other on LinkedIn as we were there, so that we can make sure that we stayed connected. And so it was such a rewarding, rich experience. It helped me adopt more of this exposomal framework from having exposure to a multidisciplinary group. And I would highly recommend this for anyone. And so on next slide, please. This is just acknowledgements. I want to thank the Alzheimer's Association, ISRI. These are my mentors and collaborators and fundings. And you can use the QR code if you want to connect with me. I love to talk science and connect with people. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pugh. That was awesome. So great to hear about your really fascinating research, and great to hear how helpful the Summer Institute was for you. So now I will hand it off to Dr. Emily Rose.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. It's good to be here with everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me. I am Emily Morose. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Nursing at Emory University, and I'm the director of the Frost Lab that I launched last year. As you can see, I'm going to talk about my experiences with the training program in 2023. So I'm right in the middle of the last two speakers. It's been now a couple of years since I was part of this training program, and it's become basically a hobby of mine to talk about how much I love the program. So it was really easy to put together this presentation because I have tons of good things to say. It's really still, even a year and a half after starting my faculty position here in 2024, it's just so gratifying and relieving to be here as an assistant professor in a really great school of nursing. But I look back to 2023 and I was kind of thinking about this as the other two speakers were presenting, and I recognized that that was a time of a lot of uncertainty for me, and that the Alzheimer's Association training program really helped me to feel a sense of stability and confidence and have a plan for going forward. So in 2023, especially that summer, I was a postdoctoral fellow in the section of geriatrics at Yale School of Medicine. And I had the prior winter gotten a score for K99R00. So I had submitted that grant the previous cycle, and that winter I had gotten a score that was good but not fundable. So going into this summer, I was at this crossroads because I had done my postdoctoral fellowship for 2 years. They were giving me one more year, but by the end of that third year, I had to have a job somewhere else. And unfortunately, I mean, the geriatrics program at Yale was an awesome training program. They were very happy to train me through their T32, but a geriatrics program just can't take on someone like me permanently because I'm a developmental psychologist and I can't see patients. So I knew I needed to get a job and it wasn't going to be at Yale. And so I needed to figure out what I was going to do. Because I had this nice K99 score, I was really at a crossroads in terms of what to do next because I didn't want to resubmit because it would be too uncertain. I wouldn't get my scores or information about funding back before I needed to be on the job market. So I had this really great grant that seemed like it was going in the right direction, but I knew I couldn't resubmit it as a K99 and I was just really unsure what to do. So the summer research institute at the Alzheimer's Association came at the exact right time and really empowered me to figure out what do I do with what I have now, this idea and this first iteration of this grant. And so I had submitted that K99 specific aims page to the Institute to work on, and that's really where the whole story starts. So you can go to the next slide, Chelsea. So I want to give a little bit of background on my program of research in terms of the population that I study, and then on the next slide, I'll talk about the focus that I have. So my population is a group that I call experienced dementia caregivers. These are folks who have been caregivers to someone with dementia already in the past and are now caregivers for a second or third time in their life, but to somebody else with dementia. So this is not their first rodeo. As a developmental psychologist, this is a super interesting topic to me to think about how we develop through our adulthood, and for some people, how caregiving takes a really predominant role in our development. And so with population aging trends, we're actually seeing that more and more people are likely to be experienced dementia caregivers because we need more dementia care support, and we have fewer and fewer people who are able to do that. So this is an important topic on the rise, but it was something that really hadn't been studied before me. This is some preliminary data from my work going on right now, so you can kind of see what I mean by an experienced family caregiver for people with dementia. So in my sample right now, a lot of folks have told me so far that their first caregiving experience was to a parent. Some folks also say it was to a grandparent, and then a little bit for spouse and partner, and then a couple people have said for another person. And then in transitioning to that second caregiving experience, we have a lot of people focusing on caring for a spouse, several others for a parent, and then there's other folks who are now caring for somebody else. So a lot of transitions between I cared for my parent first, maybe several years ago, and now I'm caregiving for my partner or spouse. This is a really typical transition for an experienced caregiver. And you can imagine that there's a lot going on there, right? If you've been a caregiver before, it can be helpful, right? So you may have learned things that are going to help you navigate that care role in the present. You may have developed insights about the dementia journey. This can be great. But those experienced caregivers from some of my preliminary research at Yale, I've also found that they are not necessarily feeling better equipped for a care role the second or third time around. In some cases, they're feeling just really exhausted by the caregiver context. Some of them are experiencing grief symptoms that they're still grappling with. Others are just feeling like, actually, when I look back on my caregiving experience from the past, I don't feel really confident that I'm a good caregiver now. And so how do I navigate this role now, kind of knowing what I know about, or knowing what I think about myself from my prior caregiving role? So when I thought about this population and how best to begin to support them and understand their experiences and needs, I went back to my roots as not only a developmental psychologist, but also a narrative psychologist. So Chelsea, you can go to the next slide. So the theoretical framework that I apply for my research is the one of narrative identity theory. And I really like this quote from the late Will Dunlop a couple years ago. He says, life stories and life itself are mutually constituted. Adults often understand their lives by constructing personal stories and then living into them. So if we apply this to the context of experienced caregivers, we can think of it in terms of an experienced caregiver constructing a personal story of how good they are as a caregiver and how caregiving feels. And then now in the present, living into that story in the way that they engage with caregiving for a second or third time. And so if you want to click forward, Chelsea, this is the model that I had included in my K, looking at some of the aspects of narratives that experienced caregivers share from past caregiving and how those can actually predict their preparedness for current new caregiving roles as potentially mediated by grief and depression. So this is the model that I'm testing right now. And again, all of this is super new territory in terms of understanding this trajectory from having been a caregiver before to now again a second or third time. Next slide, Chelsea. So I wanted to go through and really talk about how the Alzheimer's Association program supported me through my journey, especially that summer when I was sort of trying to figure out what to do. And at that time, I was still even wrestling with like what to call these caregivers who had been caregivers before and how to sort of put my ideas out there and how to make sure that it was clear what I was talking about as an important foundation for the grants that I was trying to put in and for the job that I was trying to get that fall as well. So there was a lot of steps in my journey that kind of needed to be addressed right then and there. The first was to organize my ideas and develop a call to action, get other people to believe in what I was trying to do with experienced caregivers. I had to develop a really good set of compelling scientific aims. I had to figure out how I was going to fund this work, given that the K99 route didn't work out for me. And then I had to get to a point of completing a project like a K if I was funded and needed support from others. So Chelsea, you can click forward. So at every one of these, in every one of these kind of topics or needs, ISRI was there for me. So I know Chelsea talked about that pitch activity that we do during the training program, where you pitch your ideas to an audience. That pitch activity was really, really important for me. It helped me to clarify why my work matters and how I should talk about it and the words that I should use to express very cleanly and quickly to people what I'm doing. The group meetings and mentor discussions were really essential for me developing my scientific aims. And then importantly, through ISRI, this was actually the first and only exposure that I had to a new type of K that I had not heard about before. And so I had eventually decided after ISRI a couple months later to apply for a K22, which is something that postdocs can apply for, and it actually helps you transition into your faculty position. So it was the perfect fit for me because I was trying to transition into a faculty position. So I could put it in right away, not waste time, but then I could make that transition to a faculty position and launch my K. And that's what ended up happening. So my K is currently active. I just started my second year of that research. And then I have now from ISRI developed a really strong network of collaborators or mentors who are kind of helping me through my journey. And so if you go click one more, Chelsea. These are sort of the outcomes of this, and I think I kind of talked about them a little bit. The pitch that I had done at ISRI turned into a commentary that I published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society. So I actually took that foundational work from the training program and published it. Having solid aims allowed me to develop a grant in just a couple months, 6 weeks between the training program and the deadline for submission. And then, yeah, it led to my funded K22. So it allowed me to have this really successful transition into my faculty position. And then the mentorship in particular, I have a couple mentors from ISRI who are now consultants on my K22. So next slide. That is the more information about the pitch idea that I turned into a call to action and published. And if you want to click ahead, Chelsea, there's just a couple of thoughts that I had, and I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, that were kind of real benefits for me from the training program. What I really benefited from was that the instructors and the mentors pushed me to be creative and confident. I still remember my mentor meeting with Dr. Barnes and how she was just so delighted by my ideas and really gave me a sense of like, oh yeah, I can do this. This is a fundable idea. Next, Chelsea. Um, Another thing I want to emphasize is as a postdoc going into this training program, I wasn't sure if I was ready. So I just want to let some of you know if you're in that same space that if you have a solid idea for a grant, you're probably ready for this program. All you need is that solid idea to bring to the table, and the folks there will help you to develop it. And then one more, Chelsea. The other thing that I really benefited from is that this program offers education for developing your research ideas, but also gives you knowledge of other groundbreaking findings, especially Chelsea mentioned like the bench science that's going on right now that we might not usually have exposure to. This was really important for me to feel confident when I talk to folks now in my research, like if I talk to participants and they want to know things about how Alzheimer's works or what dementia treatments are available. I know a lot more now, and I can get to giving some answers about that because of the training that I had through this program. So final slide, Chelsea. That is it for my time. I really appreciate your attention, and I'm happy to talk more about my experiences with the training program. Or if you're like me and you have never heard of a K-22 before, feel free to reach out because I'm happy to share more.
Thank you so much, Dr. Morose. That was great. Again, great to hear from you and all of our presenters about all your great research and the impact of the Summer Institute. So now we have about 10 minutes for questions. I see there's one in the Q&A box, and please continue entering those in the Q&A and we'll get to them. And then I also have a few questions for our presenters. But one that I see in the Q&A, can you share a little bit about how competitive the program is? For example, how many people applied and how many people got in? So we usually get about 90 to 100 applications. As the program has gone on, our cohorts have grown, the number of applications have increased. So I would anticipate this year around 100, and then every year 24 folks get in. And then there's also a question about the percentage of people who have been awarded a grant when they submitted their application. That's a great question. So I know that a lot of the times between the time when someone applies for the Summer Institute and when they actually come to the Summer Institute, they might have received their award. And we've had a number of instances of this, and I think, it's definitely flexible and kind of what you use your time at the Summer Institute to do in that circumstance. Maybe it's refining what your recruitment plan looks like, or, after this award, what do I want to look to next? So lots of flexibility there. I see one person asks, I'm an MD, PhD, and changed my career from MD to basic science, and past 10 years of my PhD. Can I apply? So we can connect offline on that. I will share my email in a little bit. That 10 years is a pretty strict deadline for our kind of timeline for us. Just so we're staying consistent when we're talking about early career researchers, but can definitely talk offline about that.
Chelsea, there was a question that I answered and it went to answered, but I think it's worth bringing back to the group.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. Yes, I see that. Do leadership networking opportunities include discussion guidance for career paths outside of academia? That's a wonderful question. And yes, I think that although most of our faculty are currently in academia, they have been in the field a long time and have a lot of awareness of what's going on. We've had past participants who aren't at a university, who are at a different kind of research institution. I know that there have been a couple past participants who are now working in like departments of public health as epidemiologists. So our faculty has a lot of awareness of the different types of paths that can be taken in around dementia research. So definitely something that they would be able to help discuss with you as well as the peers within your cohort.
Chelsea, can I add really quickly?
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of different training programs, and the nice thing about this training program is you're working directly with folks at the Alzheimer's Association. So I don't think I even really knew about the research infrastructure at the Alzheimer's Association or the folks who were doing work there. So just that exposure on its own is really helpful. The other faculty, the other mentors who they bring from outside tend to be in academia, but the folks who you're learning from there are folks who are, working at the Alzheimer's Association outside of academia. They're still doing grants and things like that, but it was cool to see, what their jobs looked like too.
Yes, that's a great point. We have lots of folks at the association who are either presenters or just kind of like stopping by to say hello and discussing, whatever it may be with our participants. So lots of opportunities for just kind of casually networking with lots of folks in our med sci division or public health division of the association. So lots of those interesting paths as well. One person's asking, is there a list of previously successful applicants and their project titles? So yes, we have on our website, which I believe my colleague Juan has put in the chat, alz.org/Summer Institute. We have an alumni tab that lists alumni throughout the cohorts, their names, as well as their research proposal that they worked on while they were at the Summer Institute. If you have any issues finding that, you can feel free to reach out. And if you also want to connect with any specific person, I can always kind of help facilitate that. To whom can we contact if you're confused about the population health or care intervention track? You can reach out to me. I don't know if any of y'all, Emily, Megan, or Erica, have any kind of thoughts about when the track. I think Emily and Megan, you were both in what is now the care intervention track, what was previously called psychosocial. Erica, you were in public health, what is now population health. But I don't know if when you were applying, if you had any thoughts about, I don't know if this track is right for me or what it may be. I know that this year we're also thinking about being a little bit more flexible. If there's a session in one track that you'd like to attend, but you're technically in the other track, allowing some more flexibility with being able to kind of move between tracks a little bit.
Yeah, I can just say really quickly, I think the names have improved. I think I was really confused in the past because they were public health and psychosocial. And I was like, I'm a psychologist who's currently getting postdoc training in public health, so I don't know which direction to go. But I think Chelsea outlined it nicely in the beginning. It's really about the difference between looking at that population level and doing those more epidemiology, population health studies versus really trying to get into the individual level and looking at, it doesn't have to be that you're proposing an intervention with the proposal you have. I didn't, but that it's something where it's maybe you're trying to understand health and strengths and resilience, but also opportunities to intervene at the individual level.
Yeah, Emily, you took the words right out of my mouth. I have nothing to add, actually.
I know. I was just going to share during the summer, that first summer, all of us wanted to be in both tracks. And so we probably were partly responsible for that feedback. But for me, I mean, I think either track could be beneficial to almost everyone, but I had not been doing intervention work at that point and wanted to gain more experience. And so that was how I made the decision of where could I hone in this intensive experience that would be most helpful for next steps.
And that's a really good point. I would say I have a similar mindset. Like I said, I've been married to psychology for a while, but being in the public health track and while I'm currently working with an epidemiologist, it was helpful in helping ground me in this field that I'm a bit newer to and actively gaining expertise in.
Great, thank you. I think we have time for just one more question. I think this is an important one. Are proposals for the care intervention track expected to be clinical trials, or is it basic research that can lead to intervention research, or is basic research that will lead to intervention research also appropriate? Yeah, we do not expect these to be clinical trial research. I mean, we have so much variety in the type of research that has been proposed in the psychosocial or care interventions track, and the list of those is on the website. But community engaged research, I mean, there's just so much variety, definitely not looking for one specific type. So lots of opportunity to if you're doing research in this space, I almost positive that you were eligible to apply for the Summer Institute. And let me just, with some minute or so remaining, I'll share my slides again. Like I said, the Summer Institute this year is happening from August 3rd to 7th. Our applications are open now and are closing March 9th. If you scan this QR code or go to the website there, it'll take you to our website. And you can learn about the Summer Institute and then all the information you need to apply. The email is right there. That email goes directly to me so I can help answer any of your questions, summerinstitute@alz.org. And then if you're interested in learning more just about the public health team, all the things that are going on in the public health space in Alzheimer's and dementia, please feel free to scan that QR code. We'd love for you to sign up for our e-news, share lots of great information about what's going on within the association and kind of just out in the dementia space. So just want to take the opportunity to thank you all again for joining, and to our presenters. It was amazing to hear from you. Really appreciate your time and sharing your experiences. So thank you all again. And please reach out if you have any questions. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care.